Today, we're going to talk about whether or not time moves differently in Hell than on Earth in Hazbin Hotel and Helluva Boss, and more interestingly, how the demons may be using their time difference to control the Earth. My name is Deepcut, hit that subscribe button. We have an 8-part series in the works coming out that you don't want to miss on how the elites rule all of Hell. Now, the idea that time moved differently in Hell than on Earth is one that is long-standing, with some fans claiming it was said in a livestream long ago that time moves extra slow in Hell, and that 10 years in Hell equals just 1 year on Earth. I have not seen this come up in any livestream, though I've far from seen them all. This idea of time moving slower in Hell made sense to the fans as a way of torturing the sinners in particular. If you died and time moved slower in Hell, and then someone you loved died just a year later on Earth, it would have been 10 years for you in Hell. They'd come in like only a year had passed, happy to see you, and you'd have had a whole decade of missing them, mourning them from Hell, and perhaps even moving on. And that would only be if it was 1 year apart on Earth. However, that is a very specific way of torture, and in addition to me finding no real source on the time moving slowly claim, there is evidence that contradicts it in the show, and in fact, it seems like there is way more evidence that time moves faster in Hell. We have no idea what kind of scale exists for time moving differently between the two, but if time is moving faster on Earth, that would mean that shortly after you died, your loved ones could pop up in Hell, and for them, months or years could have passed, but for you, just a short amount of time. The greatest evidence for this, in my opinion, is Stolas and Blitz, though there's small hints of this everywhere in the series. In the Season 2 premiere, we learned that Stolas, just 25 years ago, was a small child. While we don't really know his precise age, he seems to be somewhere in his 30s. Regardless of the precise range, this is surprisingly young considering the real-life references of Stolas, particularly as a demon, dates back hundreds of years. Stolas is most well known as being a prince in the Ars Goetia, a book of demons where he is just one among 72 nobles, each said to be leading entire legions in Hell. The Ars Goetia are part of a work called the Lesser Key of Solomon. King Solomon was a biblical figure who built a great temple, and later legends, both Jewish and Christian, would claim he did so with the aid of demons, despite this part not being in the Bible. Because of this, many grimoires like the Lesser Key of Solomon, which were designed to teach people how to summon demons, would be attributed to King Solomon himself. Now, in world, this would mean Stolas has to be thousands of years old. However, attributing a writing to a religious historical figure is a common practice, particularly in Judaism and Christianity, where these grimoires started to spring from. In world, this could also be the case, meaning that Stolas would only need to be several hundred years old in the human timeline to have been put in the earthly versions of the Lesser Key of Solomon, which we know to not just exist, but to work in the Helluva Boss world. In episode 6, when Stolas needed to rescue the IMP gang on Earth, he was able to use a ritual using his seal from the real-life grimoires to force himself onto Earth. These seals were meant to be used with rituals that summoned a demon against their will, with the human negotiating with the demon to get certain knowledge or help, like King Solomon in constructing his great temple. While Stolas does exist in other grimoires that predate the Lesser Key of Solomon, I assume the show uses the Lesser Key of Solomon as the proper in-world reference for when Stolas would need to exist, as opposed to other books like the Pseudo-Monarchum Daemonium that preceded it. So he would need to have been around in the mid-1600s, or about 373 years ago. If we were to invert the timeline proposed before and say that Earth moves at 10 years for 1 year in Hell, then Stolas would have to be only about 37 years old to have been alive when the Lesser Key of Solomon was being created, after attempting to summon demons that were likely caught coming to Earth of their own free will for their dirty dealings with Hell. Further evidence for the time difference comes from episode 6. When the gang is finishing up a kill at the beginning of the episode, the agents of Dorks ambush them, with Millie and Luna ending up in Hell for a few short moments before opening the portal again. By the time they do, Blitz and Moxie aren't just gone, but extremely far gone, and we actually see that it took the agents quite some time to shoot and knock out Blitz and Moxie before even having to get them away. It's a very rough timeline, and there's some montage in it, so it's not a perfect example, but a lot of fans immediately noticed that the agents seem to have disappeared with 2 bodies much faster than they should have. But it's hard to say if this is actual evidence of timeline differences between the 2 worlds. Perhaps better evidence from this is the timeline of the show itself. Season 1 takes place across about a year in Hell after Moxie and Millie got married, with the finale being their 1-year anniversary. Episode 3 of the show has the gang going up to Earth for spring break. In the very next episode, episode 4, it is now closer to December, with the gang finding a mall Santa. The rapid holiday timeline gives the impression that time is moving much faster on Earth than it is in Hell, though again, this may just be some sort of inconsistency. The amazing thing about time moving faster on Earth than in Hell is that it would make Earth the perfect place not just to interfere with, but to harvest. If the 1-to-10 ratio is somewhat accurate, then that would mean that 3,000 years since the first temple period of the Bible was just 300 years for the people of Hell. Every time Lucifer or another royal interfered with life on Earth in even the most subtle of ways, they'd be able to see the long-term consequences, and figure out how to best exploit and manipulate the masses of Earth. An entire 10-year war can be manufactured and manipulated from Hell with only 1 year of your immortal life taken up by it. And it isn't just controlling humans in order to rule their societies or get more people sent to Hell. The time difference also allows you to farm humans for resources, and particularly ideas. When Lucifer and the other fallen angels first rebelled, it would have been early in the development of all of the universe, and as sinners poured into Hell, the societies they built under Lucifer mostly resembled what they had on Earth. Lucifer would curate the best aspects of society for his upper classes, but he was more interested in farming humans for ideas on how to run his society than making them up himself. We know that Hell didn't really enter a technologically driven age until Vox manifested after his death. Like on Earth, they had radio up until this point, but Vox didn't just put out TVs. He ended up putting out all sorts of screen-based technology and entertainment, even getting his hands into the modern streaming businesses and social media. All of this had created a technological infrastructure for Hell, something that wouldn't exist without humans. To immortals like Lucifer, Earth acts as something of a simulation of existence moving at rapid speed, from which Lucifer can pull out the ideas that would have taken his own people hundreds or even thousands of years to come up with on their own. The rapid modernization of Hell is something that we even get hints of in the flashbacks of the show, which only 25 years ago should be in the 90s, yet somehow Imp City feels much older here. However, a lot of this is just speculation, and something important to remember is that the show is being worked on by a large team of people, and not every idea gets approved with all the various lore and its implications in mind. Time play is something that can be hard to keep 100% consistent in storytelling, and for me personally, I don't really mind. Like anyone, I can be bugged by blatant and obvious errors that exist because of a bad idea, but I actually find that most time travel or time play stories use their elements really well, with a lot of the issues fans find being really weird side examples of internal contradictions that I don't think really apply to the narrative that we're given. With that in mind, I'm going to present some of the counter-evidence to the time play theory, but just like some of the evidence for it could be entirely irrelevant, some of the evidence here may be against it too, and no inconsistencies pointed out, whether real or imagined, is meant to throw hate at the show in any way. In World, the biggest issue I've found for this time idea is that Stolas needs the book for a monthly full moon ritual. This is presumably to create a portal to the moon of Earth when it is full. If time was moving at a different speed than Earth's, then monthly full moons wouldn't make much sense. Perhaps, however, it is possible that there are multiple opportunities each month that they are able to do the full moon ritual, with there being multiple full moons on Earth in the time that there is a full month in Hell. And perhaps the full moon that they do choose for the month is one that syncs up with a celestial event for Hell, perhaps its own full moon or something to that effect. Stolas may be choosing a very specific full moon that happens each year that is of special importance to sync up with the monthly full moon or something to that effect in Hell. However, there is also the Instagram accounts, which show Stolas posting after the real-life full moon each month. This indicates that he gets the book from Blitz the night before, or in the time of their breakup, did not see him at all, as other Instagram posts seem to imply. However, the Instagram accounts are, at best, just a second level of canon, and as fun as they are, most of these things can and should be disregarded if they contradict the show's narrative. I know some audience members don't like time travel or time play at all because of continuity issues, but outside of some severe cases, I find most of these stories to be pretty good, and there's no reason issues like Instagram posts should ruin something like Helluva Boss's time play for anyone, assuming that's even the direction they go, cause up until now, this is all just speculation and theory. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time.